Hi, Linda. Here we are in Plato's Cave again in May at the end of the academic year. Yippee-ki-yay. There's not a lot to talk about in detail about the economy. There's just a couple of things I'm going to start with to catch up to our previous stories. But Linda has some topics that we'll be going into in greater detail. Why don't you give us a little preview?
Yeah, I thought I'd talk about what is this Project Freedom, this red, white, and blue dome over the Strait of Hormuz. Stick with me, it gets interesting.
Okay.
The second thing is, what's up with this crystal football? And the third is a prank that went viral about the gays, Gays, of Hormuz. And I think it'll tickle you.
Okay.
And we'll see what else arises. There may be
Okay.
other things that arise. But why don't you get us started on the economy?
Well, there are some happy notes in the economy. The consumer confidence is at the lowest in the last 30 years. So consumers have pretty much caught on to the fact that things are not going hunky-dory, but I think they knew that already. The inflation rate soared to 3.8%. The first time in several decades.
Now, let's be clear.
Yeah.
Because I've been learning from you
Yeah.
how these things are done. This is for last month. Okay. Just wanted to be
By
clear.
the way, the employment has remained fairly stable. In other words, nobody's hiring, but they're not laying off either. And that's kind of typical in a situation where there's a great deal of uncertainty. You don't want to lose your workers because you're not sure things are going to go south in your industry. What is making it look like an expansion is the AI bubble. And this is a bunch of companies that are making massive investments in infrastructure. They have no products yet to really sell to generate revenue, which doesn't justify the stock prices they have. And people are speculating in those stocks. This is a bubble. Bubbles always break. The question is when? Nobody knows. But if you're investing in these companies, the overwhelming majority of them are going to go out of business, just as happened in the dot-com boom, just as
Right.
happened with the manufacturing of laptop computers. 30 companies start out, there's 3 or 4 left. So, you may be feeling great about where your portfolio is if you happen to have one, and most people might have some of this stock in their retirement account. This will burst and you will take a hit, and the people who are involved in this will have gotten out.
Oh, well, thank you for cheering us up. Anything else on the economic horizon that can buoy our confidence in our nation?
Well, Trump is talking about suspending the federal gas tax for a while because of the high price of gas, which would certainly bring the price of gas down. We grossly subsidize the production of petroleum in the United States early on, and then we tax it. So you're actually paying for your gas twice, but that's okay. If you eliminated the gas tax, the price of gas at the pump would go down. But you have to ask yourself, why is there a gas tax? And that's where the money comes from to repair the roads and build the roads and the bridges and all the things that you're driving on.
Exactly.
So, how's he going to pay for that while he's cutting the tax rate yet once again? This is all for optics and a quick fix on the inflation rate, which will go away as soon as, the tax has to be reinstalled. And then there's Hegseth, who's going after Senator Kelly again, having him investigated because of comments he made about the missile stocks of the United States after and during this crisis in Iran, which every military journalist in the country is following, and this information is available. They count these things. And so we know that our long-range and high-cost missiles stock has been run down very considerably by this war, which is just great news for China because, that makes us much less of a threat since we have nothing to throw at them.
Well, yeah, and it isn't as if the testimony in Congress or the questions in Congress were the breathtaking revelation of this. It's been all over the news.
Yeah, not only that, if Senator Kelly asked about this or talked about this in Congress, the Department of Defense stonewalled anyway and didn't
Yeah.
admit anything. So it's more bullshit.
It's harassment.
Of
Yeah.
Senator Kelly. Apparently, Donald Trump did bring up the fact that the Straits of Hormuz are closed as a result of the Iran war with the Chinese president, who remarked that if he hadn't started the war, the Straits of Hormuz would have remained open. So I don't think he's going to get a lot of support there. Needless to say, the complete buffoonery continues. But Linda, you mentioned something about the Pope calling his bank. What is that about?
Oh, yeah. Before I get into the serious stuff, I was surprised you hadn't heard this, but the Pope called his bank in Chicago and said, I need to change the address on my account. And he hadn't identified himself as the Pope. He'd used the legal name he had signed up for the account with. And the customer service agent at the other end said, well, you have to come into the bank to do that. And the Pope replied, I'm really a long way from Chicago right now. Isn't there something else that can be done? So this created a back and forth, and the customer service person was absolutely adamant, no, you have to come in. So the Pope said, would it help if I told you I was the Pope? And the customer service agent hung up.
Well, the human resource office at this bank will have something to say about this. Of course, this has gone viral, or we wouldn't know about it. Yeah.
Absolutely. Well, he told a friend.
He told a friend.
Yeah, because, he's a man with a great sense of humor. And I just, first of all, the fact that he's vowed to take care of his own personal affairs. That's
right.
As Pope, that he decided that was one sign of humility.
Yeah.
That, taking care of his own bills, taking care of his own bank account, blah, blah, blah. So that's why he was on the phone at all, instead of somebody, I don't know, from the concierge service at the Vatican.
Well, the other thing's funny, though, is it raises another question. What's wrong with the Vatican Bank? I mean, they have a history of corruption,
They
and
do.
And the Pope won't put his money in
No, he
the
won't.
Vatican Bank.
No, he's not transferring. He just wants to keep his account.
Yeah, that's because he wants to use his debit card,
Probably. I just thought that was the cutest darn story.
Well, on that happy note, after the depressing economic news,
Yeah,
let's
we
move on.
will get back to Pope Francis and his reaction to gifts a little bit later. But I am now going to walk us through, with your brilliant commentary, what I have traced down about this Project Freedom, because here's what I found curious. It was announced in a big press conference with Hegseth and Kane, the head of the Joint Chiefs of Staff, but the coverage of it had almost no details. You couldn't find out, well, what exactly is this umbrella that they're going to create? And the other thing, of course, is that they announced this on May 3rd as a defensive umbrella over the Strait of Hormuz. It really isn't a defensive umbrella because it can use quite a bit of aggression. It was paused on May 5th, okay? And NBC broke this story. And I'm very proud of them for breaking it, because they said the reason it was halted was that Saudi Arabia and Kuwait denied the airspace. And the reason they denied the airspace was, A, nobody had contacted them about this. Nobody said this is a plan. Second, they thought, oh, it's going to make us more vulnerable if they're doing this.
Yeah, it makes them a target.
Yeah.
A legitimate
we'll
target.
get hit again, and no thank you. And then on May 7th, Saudi Arabia and Kuwait lifted the ban on airspace, so we know some kind of deal has been cut.
Yeah, but what?
Well, that's the problem, isn't it?
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah. Anyway, I guess I'll get back to those rumors next week, because I don't have anything to... I've heard a lot of rumors, but I don't have sources. So what I can tell you about this week is, what is this defensive air bubble over the Strait of Hormuz? Here's a quote from CENTCOM. U.S. military support to Project Freedom will include guided missile destroyers, over 100 land and sea-based aircraft, multi-domain unmanned platforms, and 15,000 service members. Okay, I still don't know what it is. And the big question for me was, what is multi-domain unmanned platforms?
No idea.
Exactly.
Except there won't be men on it, so it's probably women.
At a press conference on May 5th, though it is when they were announcing this, General Kane said that the operation would be controlled by the 82nd Airborne, which interested me because I know they've had a big buildup of the 82nd. Yeah. And they're usually the ones who were dropped into a crisis zone by parachute to shoot things up. But that isn't what they're doing now. They're involved in this multi-domain unmanned platform coordination. The best insight I got from this was on May 6th. I've mentioned before Michael Clark's military analysis. He's on Sky News. He's really brilliant. And what he said was that we are entering sixth-generation warfare. Someday I'll tell you what the other 5 are, but not now. Anyway, it's using AI and robotics to accomplish military goals. And if America does implement this, it'll be studied by military colleges all over the world because it's new. He went on to say, it isn't just a dome against missiles coming in, which is what Israel has. It's a dome which would target ships, any Iranian ships, any boats, any submarines. What is not well explained is multi-domain unmanned platforms. These are autonomous or remotely operated systems capable of operating across multiple military domains simultaneously or in coordinated fashion. These platforms integrate sensors, communications, weapons, AI, and networking technologies to conduct missions without requiring onboard human operators.
Wait a minute, you said autonomous.
Yes.
That means they will seek targets, identify targets, and destroy targets on their own.
You are very, very good at translating military double talk. That's exactly what it means.
Oh, man.
This system operates using autonomous drones, unmanned underwater vehicles, robotic surveillance systems, and AI-assisted targeting networks. Oh. Now, I went to find out more.
That's me groaning.
Okay. You can also bang your head against the microphone again if you would like to.
I'm sure
later.
That's coming. Yeah.
Okay. Well, I found a whole bunch of ads by the manufacturers of these systems, like Lockheed Martin, and you don't learn much. There's a lot of that kind of energetic, masculine arousal music and a lot of graphics, but you really can't tell when it's all done what it's about. So let me give you an example that I finally teased out. For example, a satellite detects suspicious vessel activity. The AI system classifies the level of threat. An AI system classifies the threat. The drones track the movement of this vessel. Air drones provide the live imagery at central command, at the command center. Naval destroyers receive targeting updates instantly. Cyber units disrupt the communications from the enemy ship.
Wait a minute, that means they can't scream out, "We're a party boat."
No.
Okay.
No, they can't.
So that means,
we're just fishing. They can't say that, no.
Yeah, well,
so that the integrated network allows decisions and responses at the speed of digital computers.
Whoa.
The missile, for instance, the missiles fired from our Navy ships already have AR targeting, which means it's the AI system that determines the targets, not the person operating the firing system. The AI locks in targeting on armed aircraft too. So if you're flying a jet and the suspicious activity is perceived, and the AI system has classified the threat, automatically and digitally, your jet array in front of you, you're navigating, shows you what the target is, and then it fires on it. There's no human involvement. And this all happens within a matter of seconds when this system is fully operational, right? So that's the question. So here's a couple things to think about if you haven't already. First of all, the moral implications of removing decision making from any human beings at all.
I mean, do we really want people that Pete Hegseth would like to be in charge making moral decisions about anything?
Yeah, and we can have an example. Let's say that one of the rumors I've heard is that Saudi Arabia, in the 2 conversations with Trump about this operation, made it very clear, could you stop screwing around and just get rid of this regime? Mm-hmm. You know, our goal is we don't want to have to think about Iran again. So stop messing about, get rid. Well, to do that, let's say they order a swarm of drones and they're armed, and they say, well, we want you to take out a 500 square mile zone within Iran. Well, there would be no questions asked by the surveillance system, by AI, by the targeting.
Yeah.
They would just go do that.
It would just happen, yeah.
And nobody would be there to say, I can't approve an order that targets civilians to this extent. So that's one consequence.
So it removes any officer having to make a decision as to whether the order is legal or not, because the order is never given.
Potentially, that's exactly.
Once the system is activated, the AI is making most of the decisions.
The only exception I've heard about that is if it's a change in protocol, like you've got a battle plan and you know what you want to do, and then because it's war, something unexpected comes up, you have to request a change of order up the change of command. But that would take, again, seconds, because you're talking to your command center.
And then the decision maker at the top of that would be either the Secretary of Defense or the Trumpster.
Okay, maybe I'm going to throw up. But anyway, yes, you've got the
So moral reasoning has no role at this point.
Far less than it ever did, and we know
in any time in history, yeah.
And we know that it hasn't absolutely played a major role in how Americans think about warfare anyway. Okay, now the second thing to ponder is that there's a cost to this kind of system. And at this recording, that is today,
May 12th,
the Secretary of Defense, Pete Hegseth, and the head of the Joint Chiefs of Staff, General Kane, are testifying before both houses, justifying a $1.5 trillion defense budget for 2027. That is the largest in history, and it is the largest in the world by far. So that's what they're testifying to today, and the ask is primarily to convert U.S. defenses to AI capability in warfare. Hegseth is obsessed with the notion of this conversion, converting the American military to AI capability in warfare. So, ladies and gentlemen, there's a big cost to this, and it does bring us back to AI investment is what's driving the stock market at the moment. As you point out, they're not producing anything. So, but that's what this is about.
They may be soon.
Yeah,
but nothing we really want.
Exactly.
Wow.
And of course, these are untested in the sense that what they're talking about is a combined platform, a multi-platform, autonomous system. Well, nobody's ever done this before.
I think there's a documentary on it called Dr. Strangelove. Who builds a doomsday machine and doesn't tell anybody? You know?
I hadn't thought about that, but yes.
Yeah, this is pretty crazy. And of course, all of this is going to be implemented by a crew of idiots and a bunch of companies that are not above fraud. And of course, given the amount of money that this is going to cost, you would think this would lead to a tax increase, but I suspect it won't, which means all of the cost of this is going to land squarely on the people in the bottom half of the income distribution, while the top half makes, or the top 10% makes even more.
Exactly, and Trump has already given a speech where he says, well, we can't afford child care. We can't afford all these various social services. No, yeah, we can, if you would stop messing about. The other thing that I see with this system is that it is essentially a warfare system. But they're planning to use it not for warfare, but to convince commercial ships that it's safe for them to move. Automatically, all kinds of things around them would be being blown up, or even under the sea, because they can track submarines too. Well, is that really going to reassure the insurance people that this will be fine? Just fine?
Yeah, because what could go wrong?
Exactly.
The other thing is, if you really wanted to make it safe for shipping, you get the hell out of the Strait of Hormuz.
Well, precisely, that's what I keep thinking. Rather than trillions of dollars, never mind how much we've already spent on this ridiculous venture, why don't you just get things to return to the status quo ante by sitting down with Iran and saying, let's make this work now? Because using a battlefield strategy to peacefully getting ships around the Horn of Hormuz strikes me as losing.
Yes, and it is putting in place a threat to attack without consideration a country's assets that we have said have already been totally disarmed. So by virtue of our own statements, we are making war on the civilian population at this point.
Automatically.
Yeah. Or they've been lying to us. Wouldn't that be a shock?
Yeah, it would be.
So there's nothing moral about this in any way. And it's incredibly costly and not particularly useful. And I always get scared when people start building really nice, shiny, new pieces of military equipment because
they want to use them.
It's just, wow, they're all there. They're all lined up. They're all armed. Why don't we just do something with them like it's a video game?
Yes, and also, of course, you have to consider we already have such a person in Hegseth. I mean, and Trump. They think they think all these pretty things are manly and make them feel manly, and why not use them? What do we got them for? So that's what's going on. We don't exactly have it all. It's going to cost us trillions.
And they're going to hit the wrong ships. I mean, it's just...
Well, inevitably, something's going to go wrong,
right, yeah.
Because we've all had trouble with our computers in the past.
Really?
I know you're shocked.
Well, this last week, all of the classroom management systems in the United States went down because of hackers, which I thought was hysterical. People are going, what are you going to do? It's like we've been grading papers since Plato, folks. We know how to do this.
Yeah,
we don't need a computer.
I know. It was, first of all,
hysterical.
To have it go down right when students are writing their papers and trying to upload them so they can be graded, and professors are trying to grade the papers online, that's got to cause screaming all across the nation. But as you said, we used to just take them home.
Yeah, and read them.
Well, we will move on to other madness now, if I may, unless you wanted to hear more about this crazy, costly thing.
I can't believe our allies in the Middle East think this is a good idea. Planes and boats go off track. This is a disaster waiting to happen.
Yeah, this is my point. Our allies in the Middle East, exclusive of Israel, thought the whole war was nuts. They thought it was madness. But now their attitude is, excuse me, we've been making all these nice posters and ads about a wonderful tourist location we are. And you're also blowing our economy to smithereens because these people are attacking us. Could you finish what you started?
Yeah.
Whatever that turns out to be.
Yeah, sadly, the moral consequences of that action isn't being considered either. They just want it over with. They don't really care how it happens or who has to die.
Exactly. And by the way, before we close this segment, the BBC has been doing, this is BBC Radio, has been doing a brilliant job of interviewing people in Iran, in Tehran, to ask, what's your life like? Because we're not getting any of that from any other news source. It's horrific, not only from the missiles and the bombing, but from the militias that are still hanging people, dragging them off the streets, extrajudicial killings. That's still going on there. So it's an absolutely bleak situation for the people who are there. And that hasn't entered our frame of reference yet. But, and with the bullies on both sides, I doubt that it will.
And on that happy note.
Okay, Bill, so we could turn to some more interesting and lighthearted fare, if you would like. We all know that Marco Rubio, for reasons best known to him and obviously not known to anybody else, gave to the Pope a gift. And the gift was a crystal football. Did you see this ceremony?
No, this one I missed.
Okay, well, the Pope gave Rubio a olive wood pen to emphasize peace as coming from the olive tree. It's like
I mean, all of them that we've blown up in the Middle East in the last few weeks.
The olive branch, if
Okay.
you will.
Oh, okay.
And Rubio gave him back as a gift a tiny little crystal football with the seal of the State Department on it. And the Pope's reaction was priceless because he just stared at it and said, "Oh, wow." And then Rubio muttered something about, "I know you're a baseball man, but, what do you get the man who has everything?" I mean, this is the most cloddish giving of a gift I've ever to a dignitary I've ever heard of. So I decided to do a deep dive into this question. Okay, first of all, there was coverage that said falsely that Rubio got this little football when he was walking through the gift shop of the State Department on his way to catch the plane because he didn't have one. That's not true because they don't have these in the gift shop.
No, you have to order them.
And I know they don't have them in the gift shop because the gift shop is online. And I looked, and there were some much nicer gifts he could have given, but not him, no. Rubio, as it turns out, is a jock. He is enamored with football. He talks about football all the time. His wife used to be a cheerleader.
He is from Florida, right?
Yes.
When they open a new university, they don't talk about hiring faculty. They ask the question, how quickly can we assemble a Division I football team?
Precisely. So he's very much into the University of Miami.
Shocking.
And here are his reasons for thinking that football is just such an important thing for men to participate in. First of all, it has high cultural importance, particularly the Super Bowl as an unofficial national holiday because it brings people together. College sports is a unifier.
Right, that's why we chose Bad Bunny to do the halftime show.
Well, at least Rubio probably understood the Spanish. He thinks football offers life lessons and value because it teaches resilience, sacrifice, accountability, and working with others.
And head injuries.
Yes, and that's true. But what other activities are there in American life that do the same? Just about anything worthwhile.
Well, actually, going to prison teaches resilience, sacrifice, accountability, and working with others. I mean, that is where our criminal gangs organize.
Whether you like it or not, you're going to work with others.
I've heard this argument all my life, and it's like everything a human being does contributes to their understanding of the human condition, no matter how depraved, right? So saying that this does this, which is often used as a justification for college athletics and the connection with higher education, is absolute bullshit.
Well, that's my point. I mean,
right? It contributes nothing to the activity of university life. It's an expense and entertainment for the rest of the country.
And it doesn't contribute anything to high school life except in keeping people with overcharged hormones on the field.
And then, of course, it's brought the communities of Ann Arbor, Michigan, and Columbus, Ohio, so close together. I mean, this is just nonsense.
In what sense? Are they real rivals?
Ohio State and the University of Michigan? Little bit.
Okay,
yeah.
Well, that's all I know. Nothing. This notion that somehow team sports, especially football, creates all of these values is nonsense in two ways. One, it isn't the only place where that can happen.
Exactly.
And you don't necessarily wind up with a concussion or believing that God cares at all about whether you win or not. I mean, why do they tell young people that they should get down on their knees and pray that God will give them the victory? Anyway, I think we've now reviewed that to the point of not giving it any more attention because Rubio is a real jock idiot.
Did he actually ever play the sport?
That I don't know.
This is really very Veblinian. You have young people go out and smash their heads together so that you can root for them and drink beer.
Yeah.
And that's somehow ennobling those people. No, this is just using them for entertainment and gambling. And
well, it began, though, with a much more insidious point that does point towards Veblen and the notion of predatory capitalism, and that is at the same time that America started its imperial ambitions, the Spanish-American War, college football started to be played, and it was intentional. It was to get young men ready to answer the call, in that case to be officers, but in other cases to be cannon fodder. So, yeah.
The problem is not young people engaging in athletic competition. It is the institutional structure around it, the way it's financed, the way it's promoted, the way they are used and commodified.
Absolutely right.
You can go anywhere in the world, and where there are kids, there's a soccer ball, and they go to a field and they play the game. And that's wonderful.
Yep.
And baseball is played everywhere by little kids in the United States, and you should go see it, but you should never go see your own kid's game because that turns you into an idiot. But sports has benefits. Mm-hmm. The institutionalized manner in which sports are presented in American culture is damaging.
Well, precisely.
Yeah.
Yes, I think that's true. And the whole gestalt, the propaganda that goes along with it, I don't know. I will find out if little Marco Rubio ever played football, but I'll leave that for next time because I want to go out on a happy, clappy note.
Oh, good.
Okay, so I last time mentioned this very odd video Lego drop that tried to use the video Lego music rap to explain something I'd never heard of, which is that there was originally a video made by someone in Germany that satirized the blockade. Okay. and then a spoof about the gays, Gays, of the Gulf of Hormuz went viral. And then another video maker combined the new video with the original video called The Blockade to make something called The Gays of Hormuz. Now, I haven't been able to find number 3 or number 2, the second video, but I did find out what the prank was that gave rise to video number 2, and that is a comedian I don't know whose name is Reed. He was at the Indivisibles demonstration. His name is Lionel Leeds, and he had a microphone, and he did a spoof interview with somebody about all they ever do is talk about the Straits of Hormuz. Is it really fair to leave the gays behind? It was really cute and really funny, and then it got even funnier because there's a segment of our population that took it seriously. Or not our population, but the world's population. There's a commentator in Australia on Sky News who used this to point out what a bunch of dummies Americans are because he took that interview as serious. But then there were other people who also took it serious in America, and in the sense of, what are they doing about the gays in the Strait of Hormuz? Are they just leaving them there? What's happening there?
How can that even be? It's the Straits.
I know.
Of Hormuz.
No. So that's the gag that was behind the deeply obscure video that tried to explain something I couldn't figure out. But I do think the spoof is funny.
Yep.
It is very funny.
And the fact that people took it seriously and understood it seriously once again proves you can't fix stupid.
No, and it also indicates where we are as a country. Who knows what satire is anymore? You can't tell at face value whether you're supposed to take something seriously or not.
Do you remember back when we were college students and the United States had the greatest education system in the world?
Yeah.
Boy, did that go down a toilet fast.
Well, that's all the happy and depressing news we have for today.
Yeah. Well.
Okay. Catch us next week. We'll have, a deep dive into something else.
Yeah.
Okay.
It's like, fuck.
Okay. Okay. Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.